Probably the biggest topic of conversation, I think, thus far in this NBA season is the 0-3 start of the Philadelphia 76ers. It's easy to look at the record. 2 primetime games for these guys to start the year, and they weren't exactly the easiest opponents, but last night, they played the San Antonio Spurs, a team that gave up 129 points to the Charlotte Hornets without their best player. A tanking team who's playing on this team? You got a rookie, Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, Devin Vassell, Trey Jones starting at point guard. Josh Richardson has been one of their best players so far this year. I think he had like 27, a few nights ago, getting some opportunity on a team that doesn't have a lot of good players, good scorers, and Doug McDermott. But basically, we can understand what this team is compiled of. This is not the Boston Celtics. This is not the Milwaukee Bucks. So we can kind of give Philly a pass for those games. I think just the fact that they lost them, it's okay when you play 2 great teams that are missing players, by the way, but still great teams. And you could identify bright spots in both those games. For example, James Harden was absolutely awesome in both of those games. He was terrible in this game. He played 40 minutes, at least terrible from a shooting perspective. But if James Harden struggles with his shot against a team like the San Antonio Spurs, you give him a pass because he's been so great scoring the basketball in your first 2 games, and you kind of would assume that a team like the Sixers has the scoring capacity that they wouldn't need James Harden to score 30 points against the San Antonio Spurs because they have Joel Embiid, they have Tyrese Maxey, they have Tobias Harris. And those 3 guys combined to score 80 points. 80 is a lot. That's really good, and that should usually win you games. But they were at home and lost to the San Antonio Spurs. It didn't really even come down to the wire. The Sixers bench has been outscored 34-103, so we can identify 1 point of emphasis for these guys to maybe improve on throughout the year. You're playing the wrong guys. Do you trust Doc Rivers to play the right guys and make the right decisions? I think over the course of a season, he can probably figure it out, but let's be honest, it's not like if Matisse Thybulle was playing more than 3 minutes, your team would be better at scoring. I mean, maybe you could guard the San Antonio Spurs and Devin Vassell. The Sixers were winning at a certain point in the 4th quarter of this game. And they were winning for a good portion of this 3rd quarter. And then their bench kind of came in and fucked everything up. Like, Embiid has a great game, and he carries your team with 40 points, but Jakob Poeltl was just eating off of offensive rebounds, like on the free throw. Like, him and Harden, you're just standing there. You're not making an effort to box out. You're just expecting this ball to go into the basket. It goes right to Jakob Poeltl, but it wouldn't have gone right to him if you'd actually tried to box him out. So just a lack of effort right here. And then right here, Embiid, this is his fault because him and Jakob Poeltl are at the same place on the court, and he just gets outran. And there's even time for the ball to go up, come off the rim, and he's still not back. And it's another bucket for your matchup. You're not in the play. That's your fault. I know he has 40 points, but you can't be tired against the San Antonio Spurs. Tyrese Maxey is 4 of 5 in the 4th quarter, and Embiid is 5 of 8. Harden struggles, but you lose this game in the 4th quarter at the defensive end. Jakob Poeltl, 8 points, 7 rebounds in the 4th quarter. This guy got 5 offensive rebounds in the 4th quarter. It just negates a great game from Embiid. I said it before the season, I'm going to say it again. This is going to be a problem for Philly all season long. It's not just the bench, but the fact that even their starting guards can't play defense. So, however many points they are generating on the offensive end, which is going to be a lot throughout any given game, and it might be more than the other team's backcourt, but regardless of who they're playing, the other team's backcourt is just not going to have that much trouble getting into their offense against these guys. The ball pressure isn't going to be there. You don't have that defensive player. And I know PJ Tucker is like the guy that's going to guard, but he's not guarding your point guard. He's your only real perimeter defender on this team that's starting. De'Anthony Melton is your only point of attack guard defensive player that can put pressure on a ball handler on your team. And De'Anthony Melton had 0 points in this game in like 16 minutes. The Sixers' next game is against the Pacers. It's another home game. You got 2 cakewalk games back to back. Let's take a look at their schedule actually, because I do want to see. The Pacers shouldn't be a problem, but Tyrese Halliburton is probably going to have his way. It's probably going to be a very high-scoring game where neither team can stop each other. Hey, Joel Embiid should have another 40-point game. So you got this home game against the Pacers, and you got 4 road games in a row. And the Raptors are a tough, sweaty team. They're going to play hard, and you got the Bulls in the second game of back-to-back. Listen, for all the people that are saying that you should panic, listen, we're 3 games into the year. We all know how much everything can change in the blink of an eye. Joel Embiid, for me, has been the most disappointing thing. He played bad in his first game. He played even worse in his second game. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen him play. In that game against the Bucks, he was absolutely abysmal, outplayed by Brook Lopez by a mile, and it was hard to watch. He doesn't look like he's conditioned well. He looks slow. He doesn't look like he's interested a lot of the time. And in this last game against the Spurs, he gets 40 points. So obviously his offense was in a much greater spot than it was the last 2 games. But key mistakes down the stretch. He played a bad fourth quarter. Especially on the defensive end, you're letting Jakob Poeltl out rebound. You get 5 offensive rebounds. It's absolutely inexcusable. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Sixers are in trouble, but they have time. But they have some key weaknesses. And if Joel Embiid isn't Joel Embiid the MVP favorite or candidate, this team is not doing anything. James Harden has proven that he's kind of back to a better spot than he was last year. He looks like a much improved version of himself as compared to how he finished the season and just how he's been looking, I think, in the last year or so. That one game against the Bucks, he hit like 10 mid-range jumpers. I don't think I've ever seen him do that in like 10 years. Obviously, he was really bad in that last game. They haven't had a great Harden game with a great Embiid game. That's a thing that's going to change. Obviously, these guys are going to get on the same page and the chemistry will be better. But last year when they acquired Harden, the idea was that they were so good because they could beat all these teams they should have been able to beat. The fact that they can't beat a Spurs team at home, that is very concerning. But like I said, you have time. Let me know what you guys think.